Hello everyone, my name is Nicholas Crump, and welcome to my Software Engineering 2 presentation on KanBan. So why did I choose KanBan as my presentation topic? I specifically chose KanBan as I'm a chronic organizer. I love creating tools to maximize my time in my day, and I often find myself procrastinating my time by trying to time manage my day. KanBan is another such tool that has this sort of appeal to me, as I love setting up boards for any project that I work on. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. Before we start going into the presentation, let's go over everything I'm going to talk about today. First, we're going to talk a bit about what KanBan is. Then we're going to move a bit into the history of KanBan. Then we're going to look at how KanBan is used and how it's used in other industries. And then we're going to do a demo of using a KanBan board. Following that, I'm going to go over some specific software development companies that use KanBan and the current state of KanBan. And then we'll end it off with a recap of these topics again. Starting out, what exactly is KanBan? KanBan is a project management methodology/framework that aims to improve team efficiency and allows for visualization of project progress. There are 4 key principles of KanBan. First, visualizing workflow. At KanBan's core is visualization, and making workflows easier to digest and reflect on. Limit work in progress. KanBan follows work items from beginning to end with little to no delay. Reducing the amount of work in progress items allows for this to happen and ensures no multitasking is occurring. Focus on flow. This adds on to the previous principle, which is the idea of minimizing delay and allowing for items to move more freely through the KanBan board. This allows for continuous growth and improvement. Lastly, continuous improvement. KanBan is never really finished. Its goal is to ensure your team is consistently improving by giving your team the tools to look back on previous work periods to assess what went wrong and what went right. A little bit of history on KanBan. It actually originated in Japan in the 1940s. It was created by Tachi Ono for Toyota Production Systems. KanBan is actually the Japanese term for it. Translated to English, it actually means signboard or billboard. My best guess as to why we use the Japanese word KanBan as opposed to signboard or billboard is that it doesn't sound as cool as KanBan, and as developers, presentation is everything. Now, while KanBan originated in Japan, it didn't make it overseas and into software development until the 2000s by David Anderson. Now, how is KanBan actually used? As developers, we typically use KanBan and KanBan boards, which are boards used to visualize project progress. Work items are displayed as cards, with the columns of the board stating the current state of the item. These columns are limited to prevent developers from trying their best operating system impression and attempt multitasking. The lanes of a KanBan board can potentially be used to represent different company departments or projects to visualize them all in one location. KanBan boards typically work really well with projects that have ticketing or support systems, as users can create work items for developers that can then be easily created into cards for visualization on KanBan boards. For columns of a KanBan board, there's typically 4 required ones. A to-do column for things that need to be done this sprint. An in-progress column for items that are currently being worked on. A in-review column for items that are in testing, quality assurance, and a done column for items that are fully completed. Now, KanBan boards can be done both physically and digitally. Physically with items such as whiteboards and sticky notes, or digitally with tools like Jira, which is a suite of project management tools that include KanBan boards to help teams with planning, tracking, and release of work. Trello, which is a flexible work management tool used to create plans and organize workflows with a KanBan board core. And lastly, GitHub, which is a cloud-based platform where you can store, share, and work together with others to write code, and tie a KanBan board to your code repository. If you want additional information on how to set up a KanBan board using GitHub, please look at my video I submitted to the Kinserpedia last semester during Software Engineering 1. It should be the first YouTube link in the SE2 YouTube presentations on various topics file. I will also link it in the description down below. There are also many more tools out there to help you with the creation of Kanban boards beyond these three I've listed, but they are the biggest ones I've seen used in my day-to-day career. A few other industries besides software development that use Kanban boards include healthcare, where they use it to track the process of a patient from admission to treatments, all the way to their discharge from the hospital. Education, where teachers use it for lesson planning and curricular management to track how the overall semester is flowing for students. Marketing, where they use it to visualize general business workflow and stages of work tasks, similar to how we do in computer science, since what we do is heavily involved with marketing. And lastly, logistics, where they use it to visualize inventory and its workflow, where materials are being taken, and various other shipment processes that can be tracked in a step-by-step basis. Now, let's do a little example of a Kanban board. This board will be for the tasks I personally really need to do today. As you can see, we have our 4 columns as described before, and I went ahead and broke down this Kanban board into 3 lanes. One for software engineering 1 tasks, one for operating system tasks, and one for personal tasks that I need to do. I'll go ahead and now add all my tasks for the day. Since I'm currently working on the Software Engineering 2 presentation, I'll go ahead and move it to the In Progress column of the Kanban board. I'd move this to the Testing column when I showed this video to my mom, and she says she's proud of me. Next, I'll move having a mental breakdown over the Operating Systems lab into the Done column, as I'd actually done this yesterday before starting on it, and it wouldn't need to be tracked anymore. Lastly, I'll leave the shower task in the backlog, as not only can I not multitask by recording this presentation and taking a shower, you shouldn't multitask when you're doing a Kanban board in general. If you're also a computer scientist, you know that this task actually won't even move out of the backlog column ever. Now, while this is a much more silly version of a Kanban board, I hope this helps get the point across of how you actually use a Kanban board to track progress. You wouldn't naturally just add items onto a Kanban board and then progress them how they are right now. You would typically start out with a board that has a bunch of to-do items and then progress into the columns slowly. Now that we've done a little bit of the history and of how to use Kanban boards, what are some specific industries and companies that actually use Kanban boards in their day-to-day activities? The first company that I could find is obviously Toyota. Being as it's the company that this whole idea originated from, they still use it to this day for car production, and the current Kanban board that they use to this day is actually inspired by the Toyota Production Systems one originally created by Tachi Ono. Another company that uses Kanban boards is actually Spotify. They specifically quote that a board should not be overwhelmed with tasks. Looking into it, they seem they only have 3 columns in their Kanban: a to-do, a doing, and a done column. And they also use the use of defer or blocked cards for items that may need a little bit more time or may be frozen for some other reason. The last company that I found that was interesting that uses Kanban boards is Pixar. For their Kanban board lanes, they actually have it split up by department, so they can show all of the tasks being done for the entire company. They also use Kanban board labels to communicate feedback on specific work items. Lastly, before closing out this presentation, I want to take a current look at the current state of Kanban. When doing my research, all I can see is that Kanban is still currently on the rise. As you can see currently shown on the screen, multiple different market analyses projected that Kanban will only be rising in value. And these two are not the only ones that have projected this kind of growth. Another statistic that I've seen is that 70% of agile teams rely on visual tools like Kanban to promote their progress. And Kanban is especially important for fully remote teams that need tools to help with team collaboration and project visualization. A slight recap of everything I've talked about today. Kanban was created by Tachi Ono to improve efficiency and manage effectiveness. Kanban is visualized through a Kanban board with work items being cards, columns visualizing progress, lanes that can be used to represent different departments or projects, and limits of work and progress items with maximum task capabilities for each column. It can be used in both physical and digital forms and has been used in many different fields. And taking a look into current market standing, Kanban is still on the rise to this day. I hope I was able to teach you a little bit more about Kanban and Kanban boards in general, and I really appreciate you taking the time to watch my presentation.